Every founder and CEO I talk to has the same exact problem. There's just not enough hours in the day, in the week, the month, or even the year, really. And too much of the time that we have goes to things that could and should be automated. Hi, I'm Travis McBurney. I founded McBurney Group, where we build custom AI solutions for your specific operations. We train your people how to use them and help you think clearly on where and how AI can help your business. The point just isn't just about saving time. It's also making sure your business can keep up with AI as AI changes, what competition even looks like.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi.
Firstly, thank you very much for accepting my invitation and accepting to be on my show.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me.
So I've gone through your profile. I can see you're doing great work. So I thought to tell about your work to my audience.
Well, I do quite a lot of things. I'm actually a lawyer by trade. So I was a solicitor. In Ireland, we call them solicitors. So I was a lawyer for many, many years. And about 8 years ago, I was at a point in my career where I was doing the biggest deals of my life. And, I think the last transaction I did as a lawyer was for 6 billion euros. And I was very unexcited by it all. And I thought, if I'm doing 6 billion euro transactions and I'm not excited by it, I'm doing the wrong thing. So I decided to leave law and take some time out, and I left my very lucrative legal career and I went to Spain in the continent of Europe, and took some time out to really think about what I wanted to do, what I was interested in, what gave me a sense of passion and joy, and also fundamentally where I could make money. And at the time, in Ireland in particular, there was this big boom in aesthetics, the aesthetics industry. And people were starting to get Botox and fillers and things like this, but very quietly, still very under the radar. And the thing was that there was this rise in cowboy injectors, cowboy clinics, and people didn't really know the difference between going to a professor of dermatology versus a beautician who was, doing fillers in their kitchen. And from a safety point of view, and from, a product point of view, and from a vanity point of view as well, it's kind of crazy that you trust your face to somebody who's got no qualifications or no understanding of the human anatomy. But the thing is that the average consumer doesn't know the difference. And they just think, lip filler is 50 euros here and it's, 400 euros here. And what's the difference? The same filler. So I'm going to go for the 50 euros. But then they're ending up with huge complications. And anyhow, the lawyer in me that likes to do research and deep dive into things was like, this is crazy. And there's nobody really educating the consumer. And so my sister, who is my business partner, she was a journalist in the beauty industry at the time. And we used to have these conversations quite a lot about how crazy the whole industry was. And the idea was born that we would do an event to educate women about what they were putting in their bodies and on their faces. So that was the kind of original seed. And, fast forward 8 years now, it's evolved into this much bigger thing. So now we run Ireland's largest health and wellness event. We actually have 3 events that sit alongside each other. We have 10,000 people come to this event. We have 9 stages. We have 120 speakers. We have 200 exhibitors. So it's one of the biggest events in the Irish wellness calendar. And our whole premise is that we've built a business on experts, not influencers, and about giving people access to people that they don't really have access to normally. And, the internet has changed that a little bit. And there are people, you can now see cardiologists and neurologists and people like this on the internet, but it's still hard to see them face to face and to have conversations that you're interested in, that's specific to your demographic. So we tailor and curate these conversations, and it's been a really big success. And, at the moment we're in the process of of growing again, and we're going to separate the beauty business out from our two other businesses. So we have a fertility business, which is a big business in India actually. So we have a fertility event called Future Fertility Show, and that in itself is a standalone kind of business. And we bring fertility experts from all over the world to educate men and women, straight, gay, single, people who are going on the surrogacy journey, whatever your kind of path to fertility. We kind of educate them and bring over people from various parts of the world to educate them with the best. And like it's the most nuanced industry. Like it's such a crazy industry because it's medically regulated, but from an efficacy point of view, it's not regulated. So, people can go into proper medical clinics and do 15 rounds of IVF before anybody's asking any real questions, which is crazy. You're pumping hormones into yourself. And it's a big problem actually in India as well. So, fertility is a big space in India. So we've grown that event, and we have big ambitions for that event to go to Canada and America. And actually, I was having a conversation with somebody about bringing it to India last week. So watch this space. Future Fertility India might come. And then separately to that, we launched another event called the Future Men's Health Event. And you're my perfect target audience for the men's health event. So guys like you are, again, being educated by, TikTok and, gym bro culture and, Instagram about what to put in your body, how to get jacked, what peptides to inject, what hair products. And like a lot of it's bullshit. A lot of it's total bullshit. You're being marketed to and sold to. And like we're all susceptible to the marketing, I love it all. But what I want to do is I want to bring to you men, real education about what you're doing and how to achieve your goals. And in an environment where you can also talk about the impact of mental health, lack of community, what it means to be a man in this modern world, particularly in the context of the manosphere. Because you're the first generation of men who've had to provide, be parents, equal parents, and you're expected to go to the gym, sustain a good friend group, keep your mental health, eat well, be a good husband, be a good father, and be a CEO. So it's a challenge that we're all kind of facing. So the idea behind our events is to really bring communities and education to the forefront.
So after bringing this into the market, so what's the change that you're observing when, compared to when it was in the idea stage? Because it's a different decision that you took, coming from your lawyer profession, coming into the beauty industry.
Yeah, I think I hate the term biohacking because I think it's a very overused term, and I think it has kind of crazy connotations to it. But I think that world of biohacking has really exploded and become quite mainstream. And since I started this, so 8 years ago, women in particular were doing all these things, by the way. So we were using LED masks, we were, using all different kinds of skincare, we were doing injectables, we were whatever else. But I mean, it's evolved so much in the last 8 years that it's become really mainstream. So, 10 years ago, these things were really only for the really wealthy and the kind of famous and the vain. And now it's just mainstream, it's kind of normal. Like getting Botox is become very, very normal. And now the male world, which I find is the most interesting. So the men's world, the men are only catching up now. And in the wake of the menopause mania and in the wake of the Me Too movement, we now have the men going, actually, we've kind of been forgotten too. And men are now interested in their, how they look. They're interested in their bodies. They're interested in their health. They're, for the first time ever, they're interested in, their cardiovascular health. They're interested to see that their, sexual function is, in top working order. So I think it's really, really evolved in the last few years. And I think the next few years is going to be really fascinating.
So what's your contribution for that? Because the brand of yours is Future Beauty Limited at or Future Beauty Show. What is there any reason for you to start this
Why did we start it?
with this name, Future Beauty
Well,
Show?
it's actually evolved. It's evolved quite a lot since then, and actually, this year and what we're in the process of doing now is creating a new company that's going to reflect our kind of values a little bit more. So the beauty will stay within Future Beauty, and the fertility show and the men's show is going to sit in a new kind of pot that's more reflective of its direction. And I can't talk about that yet because it's in the process, and it won't be officially launched till next month or the month after. But yeah, we're going to have a new direction, and I think the direction of it has very much changed, and it's not really about beauty anymore. It's very much about wellness and misinformation. So our aim is to provide a cure for misinformation.
So in different parts of the world, humans are different. So they born and raised differently. So how you are going to help or support through your brand?
Well, I think it depends. It depends where you are at in the world, what the prevalence is. So, like in India, where you are based, for example, I mean, there's a real for the young men. There's a real kind of focus on getting big and bulky because Indians are naturally slim. So there's this whole kind of peptide boom over in India where everyone's like taking all sorts of peptides to try and get jacked, and so it's about understanding the local market. So if I'm going to bring a business to the local market, it's about understanding the local market and having local teams and local partners. And like fertility is a real industry, issue in India, and it's a real industry in India. I read a statistic recently about fertility affects 1 in 4 couples in India, which is like a quarter of a billion population, which is absolutely, if you think about the numbers of that, that is an absolutely wild business to be involved in. And the problem with it is that every area has different reasons for suffering. So, I mean, diet and lifestyle and genetics have got a big part to play in India. You have a diet that's high in, really fatty foods, heavy butters, but you also have a diet that's rich in spices and things like that too. So, I mean, that affects fertility in a different way to America. So in America, their big problem to fertility is, I mean, largely to do with obesity and metabolic disease and insulin resistance. So, I mean, it's about understanding the main issues that affect fertility in those areas and targeting those areas accordingly with the right information and the right experts. Like in Ireland, endometriosis is a big problem, and we've a real shortage of experts. We've a real shortage of care, and so for us, there was a real focus to bring over the best endometriosis experts in the world to make sure that Irish women who are suffering with endometriosis and going through fertility problems had the right access to the right information, because the information that we have here is we're 10 years behind on it.
So you might have checked the statistics. So what it says and what's going to be the future?
I think the future is going to be regenerative medicine, longevity, regenerative medicine. So, I mean, if you think about the medical industry as it stands now, big pharma, big medical industries, it's all about identifying disease, treating disease, or identifying disease, treating symptoms. And I think what's happening really, really fast is that we have a generation, and I think it's it's the kind of post-COVID generation. We have a generation of people who are like, I'm interested in my biomarkers. Like, the general population understands what biomarkers are. The general population understands how to read their bloods. The general population has access to things like Whoop watches, Aura rings. We are data driven, we're optimizing driven. I think we'll get to a stage where we're optimization saturated, and we'll be bored with that, and we'll stop being so obsessed with your Whoop recovery rate or your stress score or your whatever. I think we'll get a bit bored with that, but we will lean into preventative medicine, and I think peptides is going to change the world. And I think I think, we look like we could be the first generation that could eliminate obesity. Like, that is obesity 10 years ago was the number one healthcare problem globally. The number one problem globally, which is crazy. And for healthcare, for government healthcares, the problems that obesity brought from a cardiovascular point of view, from a diabetes point of view, from a whole host of obesity related diseases point of view, like huge financial strain on governments, huge strains on healthcare systems. And so in the next decade, 10 years, we could eliminate or nearly eliminate a huge portion of obesity and metabolic conditions through peptides and GLP-1s and the advance of medicine. It's phenomenal. That's like the biggest change of our generation. So I think we're going to see like a real change, and I think men are going to be an interesting part of it. Like I'm really interested in the men's health space, so I think men are going to start fighting back now a little bit and looking for space in that world. And it's not going to be just about gym bro culture and taking creatine and being jacked. It's going to be about your heart health and your overall regeneration health, your sleep, your quality of your relationships, and bringing connection and community back into things.
So, what all the information that you have collected when it comes to men?
What kind of information have we collected? A lot.
Yeah.
We've done quite a lot of research, actually. What I find really interesting is that men, when it comes to their health, shop and approach it completely differently to women. So women will take a very piecemeal, holistic approach to health. So women will do a bit of Botox, a bit of yoga, a bit of breath work, a little bit of shopping, a little bit of talking to their friends, a little bit of therapy. They'll look after their kids. They'll drink wine. They'll kind of have a very piecemeal approach to things. As the men are like, everything is in boxes, so they're like, I am focusing on my health now. So they take this box off the shelf and they're like, I'm going to invest all my money in my health now, and I'm going to get a Whoop watch. I'm going to get a Garmin. I'm going to spend $5,000 on a bike. I'm going to sign up for a Hyrox. I'm going to get an LED infrared light to put behind my computer. I'm going to get a sauna. And so men like go all or nothing approach and focus on something. And then once they've like ticked that box, then they move on to the next thing, which is, work or relationships or whatever. So I find that really fascinating how men approach health and wellness. And then the other thing I found interesting is that women will kind of tick away at things as the years go by. So they'll go to the GP, they'll get their smear, they'll go to the dermatologist, see how they're, so we'll do things piecemeal as it goes by, as men will normally wait until a critical point or until something changes their mind where they feel that they need to take action. So we psychologically behave quite differently and we spend quite differently. So I think that's really interesting.
I'm connecting to what you're saying. So,
yeah. Have you signed up for a Hyrox or an Ironman in the last 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apart from what you're doing with your companies, what is the show is about? I can see a lot of speakers, as you said in the beginning of this conversation, a lot of speakers, a lot of guests. And what is it about? The show is about.
It's about education. It's about we have 9 different stages. So the show is about educating you about all the things that so you can come to our event and you can look at a menu of talks that you can go to, and it might be about we've one called the Dick Talk, and it's all about erectile dysfunction and sexual health. We have another talk about mental health and connectivity. We have another talk about your heart and how important it is to look after your heart. So our shows are all about educating you with proper experts, not influencers. So you can come to our event and you can listen to a cardiology talk with proper registered cardiologists and dietitians and people who are experts in the space, who are interested and passionate about things. rather than somebody who's online trying to sell you some supplement to, increase your resting heart rate, or your, no, not your resting heart rate, your HRV rather. So I mean, the idea is that it's to educate you, and you come away empowered, and you come away from our event and go, I saw a cardiologist, I talked to somebody about peptides, I got my liver scanned, I bought some peptides that are like actually meant for me, in accordance to the blood work that I got done. You can get all sorts of cool stuff done at our event. And if you're on the fertility journey, the idea is that you can come into a really safe space, and you can come into our event and go, I'm on the surrogacy journey, or I'm on the egg donor journey, or I'm on the IVF journey, or whatever your fertility journey is. You can come in and go, look, there's these amazing speakers from all over the world. We have speakers from Australia, from America, from Canada, all over the world, Czech Republic, Greece, France, Spain, Germany, the best speakers in the world in fertility. And if you have a specific problem, you can go to a talk where you have a panel of speakers which will, talk and debate about that topic in a educated and unbiased way. They're not there to sell you something, they're there to educate you.
So how you're using technology for your job?
It's evolving a lot. And actually, even in the last 6 months, it's evolved a lot. I mean, fundamentally, the business side of it, so I mostly run the business side of it, from the finance side of it to the sales side of it to the logistics side of it. I'm very detailed and focused about systems and strategy. And I think somebody told me a really good analogy many years ago, and it's always stuck with me. If you're on a boat and you leave the harbour, and you don't have a direction that you want to go in, you'll just float around for a long time, and you might be sailing and having a nice time, but you won't get to where you want to go. But if you know that you're pointing your boat at 63 degrees north, and your aim is to get to Plymouth or wherever it is, then you have a good chance getting there. But even if you're a couple of degrees off, or you make errors along the way, or you hit a storm along the way, you can course correct and whatever else. So I think business is very much like that. You need to pick a direction, and you course correct along the way, and you have a strategy of how you're going to get there. And other than that, you're just pissing into the wind, and you don't really know where you're going to go. So we use quite a lot of, I love a good dashboard, so I have a good finance dashboard. I think, as a lawyer, and, my background in law as well is particularly is insolvency law. So I spent a lot of time, doing bank restructures, corporate restructures for big companies that failed. And often the company or the business was a good company. It was about not having control over the debt, or not having control over the finances. So for me, very early on, I wanted real control over the money and real control over the finance, and understand what's coming in, what's going out, understanding cash flows, understanding P&Ls, understanding targets. So for me, technology has really helped that. You can build a financial dashboard on Claude in 10 minutes and link in your Xero and your, PayPal and all your accounts. Like, it's phenomenal, actually, what you can do. And like, we use a CRM system for sales for our, exhibitors and sponsors. And, that even 1 year ago, that was a much more manual job than it is now. And now, we can automate a lot of that. We can automate our sales pipelines, funnels, to get to a point where we're having face-to-face conversations. So, I mean, that stuff has changed a lot. But it all it does is people think that, like, oh, AI is going to take over the world, it's going to replace your marketing team. It's not. It changes it streamlines it. It definitely makes it more efficient. But it doesn't replace anybody, really.
So, in the human history, or in the evolution of humanity, so in your industry that you're working in, coming out from, law, so what's your observation, from that, hundreds of years, like in the beauty industry?
What do you mean? Sorry, say that again.
I mean, what is the change, that gradual change, that or the transformation that happened in the human history, or the evolution in the industry that you're working right now?
Um, I mean, it's just access. Nothing has really changed. If you look at Cleopatra, Cleopatra was putting arsenic on her face and lead to try and look younger. And this is in the Egyptian times. And in the Roman Empire, men were taking all sorts of, you know, lotions and potions to try and increase their erections and make their sperm healthier so that they could have more babies. So, I mean, the fundamentals of biohacking have not changed. We all are still trying to be better humans, be stronger, be fitter, be more beautiful. I don't think that has changed. I just think the modalities have changed. So how we're doing it, the science that we're using to achieve those things is far more advanced. And I think it's getting, you know, we're getting closer all the time to like an incredible turning point in humanity with healthcare. The point where we can regenerate tissue, we can use stem cells to grow organs. Like it's phenomenal what's coming down the line. I think it's evolved a lot, but the essence of it hasn't changed at all.
So you work for your country and you work for other countries. You work globally. So the diversity. So observing the diversity, what's your take on it?
Um, I think fundamentally everyone suffers from the same ailments, you know, the same insecurities, the same problems, the same fertility problems. It's just the environment is slightly different, you know, and the financial situations are different. So I think, you know, if you're working in Canada and you're working in India, like you need to understand the markets. You know, the Canadian market is an affluent, buoyant market, and from a medical point of view, they're very advanced and they're very ethical. And if you're working in the Indian market, um, it's not as affluent, but the problem is more prolific. So it's actually about providing access to more at a more accessible rate. So it's just about understanding the market.
So what do you say about the misinformation that is being circulated about this?
Oh, look, I think it's the tale as old as time, you know. Everybody's trying to sell something, you know. Even we're trying to sell something. We're trying to sell an event. So, I mean, fundamentally everybody's on the sell. And I mean, even really amazing doctors that I've followed for many years, longevity specialists and, you know, people who I've real respect for are now like selling supplements or selling you know, their resort in Ibiza or whatever, you know. So I think it's about education. So if you have enough education to ask the right questions, to look at the right qualifications and understand people's qualifications, or to look at a supplement and go, you know what, this is full of crap, you know, I'm not taking it. If you can educate yourself about what is good science and bad science, then you are better than 90% of the population.
So what are the common questions that you hear?
Well, I mean, it depends on what space you're in, but in the beauty space, it's. I mean, we're all doing the same thing, so we're all trying to look younger, but more natural and like a fresher version of ourselves, and that's evolved quite a lot. You know, even in the last 10 years. 10 years ago, we all wanted to have bigger lips and bigger boobs and bigger bums, and now everything has gotten a bit more natural and about preserving, not altering. So in the beauty space, the question we hear all the time is, who's the best person to go to for XYZ, whatever it is, you know, whether it's Botox or fillers or facelifts or whatever. In the men's space, it's actually it's a much more stood back lens than that. So it's much more, I feel like shit, I don't know where to start. And that's the kind of space that men are coming from. As women have gone, like we're ahead of the game on that. So the men are men are being sold to more because they're easier to sell to, ironically. But so men are really confused. They don't really know where to start. Do they start with blood work? Do they start with therapy? Do they start with, IV drips? Do they start with exercise? They don't really know where to start. So that's the question we hear from men is, where do I start? And then in fertility, the question we hear all the time, which is just like kind of heartbreaking, is, will this work for me? Will I eventually have a baby? And the answer to that is very nuanced.
And what's your objective and actually your purpose of doing what you're doing?
Fundamentally to help people. Like, there's altruism at its core. I believe in what I'm doing. I believe that if people are given the right information, that they'll make the right decisions for themselves. I don't believe in selling people an idea, or one size fits all about anything. But I do believe that if you deliver them with the right experts, then they will have the right information to make their own informed decisions. So that's my objective. And I mean, from a business point of view, I want to grow this significantly. I have a couple of other, interests going on at the same time. So I'm hoping that, and they're all aligned in the same space. I think this wellness industry is going to really change over the next couple of years, and I think we're going to see, men's health spaces popping up everywhere. Old school gentlemen's clubs nearly, but with a focus on wellness and longevity. So I think that gym bro culture is going to evolve and change, and I'm going to be part of it. So I want to be part of that, and I want to help a generation to be educated and to move into the next generation of regenerative medicine.
What is going to be the next generation?
What is what?
What is going to be the next generation?
The next generation, I think they're going to be like the like super optimized generation, like even my generation, we're only in this health space now, but like I grew up in like the 80s and the 90s where it was all like raves and drugs and, parties and drinking and smoking, and I see like your generation are completely different. Like, so your generation are all like health conscious, but you're isolated and lonely. So I think the next generation, I hope, will have a bit more balance. So they'll be, they'll understand that connection is at its core, and belonging is actually is the biggest part of it. And actually, the number one metric of health is actually the quality of your relationships. So I think that I hope the next generation will evolve where they have a better understanding of health and longevity and the science, but because they have that all handed to them and it's a given, it's not an obsessive desire anymore. And the fundamentals, which is connection and relationships, come back to the core of it all.
So as a human being, what is that particular reason for you to be in this job?
I hope to be part of it. I want to be part of this space, and I want to think that I contributed towards the health and the well-being of people. Sometimes I get messages from people saying, thank you so much for your event, or thank you so much for introducing me to that doctor or this cardiologist or whatever. And they've really changed my life. Or I got an email this morning from somebody who had asked for asked if there was anybody doing prolapse repair in Ireland. And I sent her to an amazing gynecologist, and she's just had a huge surgery. And she's like saying, thank you so much. I've been 10 years suffering from this problem. And, only because I went to your event and I realized that it was much more common than I thought, that, she's now gone and gotten the help that she needed. She would have just suffered for years and years more if she didn't realize that there was A, solutions out there, and B, people to provide those solutions.
So can you share your online presence to my audience for listening this from anywhere in the world?
Sure. We have quite a big online presence. My online presence is actually largely on LinkedIn, ironically. But we have a big social media platform in Future Beauty and Health, that's very much targeted towards women. Fertility is really interesting. Our online presence in fertility, we have a huge volume of what we call shadow followers, and it's something that I didn't understand really until we started fertility. So in fertility, people are on the fertility journey, but they don't want anyone else to know that they're on the fertility journey. So they don't want to like and follow a fertility company because other people will see that they're liking and following them and assume that they have a fertility problem. So it's kind of interesting, the fertility space. So we have a lot of shadow followers in fertility. And then the men's health space, we only started this last year. So my focus this year is to really grow and evolve in that men's health space. And I suppose my obstacle to that is I'm obviously a woman. So I'm at the moment trying to decide how to grow that online space for the men's health. Do I use a male avatar to, connect to men? Do I speak as a woman to men and risk alienating them? I don't know the answer yet. So maybe, what do you think as a man?
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think
mm,
you want to be spoken to about your health by a woman, or do you think a male avatar would be better?
I think women is better. Yeah.
Really? That's
Yeah.
interesting. So I can be the first woman in the men's health space.
Yeah, because as you said in the beginning of the conversation, that biologically, genetic wise, you have a lot of information and knowledge. The way you present it will be more, authentic and more truthful. I think more men like me will connect to you.
Really? That's interesting. Oh, because I've been tortured about this idea for the last few months. Going, should I really be the face of a men's health event? I don't know. I don't know. It's been something that's troubled me a lot, actually.
And it is about science, right? No
It is
matter
about
when.
science, yeah. It's about science, and it's about experts, and yeah, like that's an interesting. I'm glad we've had this conversation. It's been an interesting feedback for me.
Sure. So, at last, as a chief executive officer, as a person who is into multiple fields, and being an officer, and also being a people's person and serving the humanity, what's your observation about my work? You have seen my work.
I have. I love what you do. I think what you're doing is interesting. When you reached out to me, I get quite a lot of people reaching out to me about these kind of things, and most of the time I just say no. But I went and had a little look at you, and I thought, I think you're young and ambitious, and I think I think what you're doing is great. So I think you need to stay the course, keep focused, and keep building, and you'll get where you want to get to.
So I've done masters in software engineering, also bachelor's in computer science and engineering. Right now, I'm working as a DevOps engineer for a London company, for a UK company remotely from India. That's my full-time role. Apart from that, I'm interviewing experts like you who are doing, different things, and who are making humanity better, who are solving problems of humanity, and who are coming from different parts of the world, not just one industry or one country. I have interviewed more than 100 countries experts, and chief executive officers, more than 200 to 300 experts I have interviewed, who belongs to different industries, especially in technology industry, and all the industries. I interviewed police officers, doctors, engineers, psychologists, authors, marine biologists, scientists, and NASA scientists, and I interviewed all experts from all industries. So me having a technology background, having conversations like this from experts like you, and presenting it, and trying to know how you are solving problems. So how this is going to contribute to me and to my personal development or career, as per your observation.
Um, I think, I think, I mean, fundamentally, education to me is the most important thing for everybody. And there's more than one way to get an education. So I have degrees and masters, and I don't know, I have like 10 of them or something at this stage. um, are they worth the paper they're written on? I don't know. Like, obviously, they give you a skill set, and you have an engineering background or whatever, and a computer science background. So do I actually. My original degree was in computers, but that is in the 90s, so it's completely irrelevant now. So we were doing like HTML coding in 1999. And C++ and JavaScript in 1999. Like, so I'll tell you how old I am. I think you need to always be learning, and the moment you stop learning is the moment you stop growing, and the moment you stop growing is the moment you die. So, and whether that's like, I mean, physically or mentally, you die. You must always be growing. And what's interesting for you is, you're reaching out to people that you wouldn't necessarily have access to traditionally. You're growing up and living in Hyderabad, so I was looking at some of the people you've interviewed. You've interviewed some interesting people. So I think for you, what you're doing is really, really brave, and I think it's admirable and ambitious. And I think that if you are open-minded and you learn one thing from every single person, that it will change your life.
So can I put this conversation on my podcast with your permission?
Yes, of course. Yeah, no problem.
So there will be a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners and experts will be watching this and listening to this. What's your words for them about your work?
I think you need to be focused. Um, and I mean, for somebody that, I mean, I have no diagnosis of ADHD, but I'm fairly certain I'm very ADHD. So for me to say that focus is at the key is interesting. But I mean, I think, like I said, if you can point your boat in the right direction, decide the direction you want to point your boat in, point your boat in that direction, and be flexible enough to course correct when the storms come, you'll get to the destination you want. And I think that is the best advice that I can give anybody. So flexibility, focus, and the ability to adapt and evolve. And also, I mean, can I tell you the best advice I ever got? I got a couple of good pieces of advice. I used to have this brilliant old boss in my when I was, in Ireland. When you're doing an apprenticeship as a lawyer, we have masters. So my master was this genius guy, and he used to come out with all these little sayings, and I remember them all. And we were about to pick a fight with somebody that we probably shouldn't have picked a fight with, and he said to me, Nikki, you need to be careful who you piss on the way up, because you might need them on the way back down. And I think that's a really important piece of information, and you should live by that. And then another thing he said to me once, which I really hold close to me, is that you'll catch more flies with honey than you will with vinegar. So I think if you can live on those three principles, be kind, don't piss on anyone on your way up because you'll need them on the way back down, and focus, then you'll be ahead of the game.
Great. Thank you very much, Nikki, for giving me your valuable time and telling about what you're doing and how you're doing and what's the change that you want to bring with your work, and also answering to some of my questions.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. And I wish you the best of luck in your
Thank you.
future.
Actually, this is my mother's motivation and mother's idea for me to do this, and I'm just continuing this even after in her absence.
Well, you know what? Your mother is a very wise woman. And because of this, you've connected yourself to lots of powerful people all over the world. So, that will give you opportunity. And, if you have education, an opportunity, and you have the energy to pursue those things, then you'll be successful, whatever that means to you, by the way.
So it's a great motivation. Thank you very much, Nikki, again for your words.
You're most welcome. Listen, it was lovely talking to you, and best of luck in the future. And keep in touch.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.